One Piece chapter 1038 is out and Oda is coming back with another great chapter. Now, I had been waiting so long and I actually got really excited to read this chapter that I completely skipped over the cover story. So I read the whole thing and then I went back and I was actually surprised because I was expecting it to be just another kind of blow-off cover, but this is actually interesting. So Niji and Yonji have been captured by Mount Dora and they're stuck in the book world. Now, from what we've seen, things that are trapped in the books are basically part of Big Mom's collection. They're rare things that she finds across the world and she wants to collect in one place. And we know that they still have sentience while in the books. So basically, Niji and Yonji are stuck in these books alive, basically as displays. Now, they really don't have emotions, so as to whether or not they are in some kind of existential dread, I doubt it. I'm pretty sure they're just existing now, but it's still kind of crap to think about. And we've got some of the family around looking into the book. We have Oven, who's sitting out front in a crate. I'm assuming he's the one who pretty much captured them in the end. Basically, these two didn't get away or they stood back so the rest could leave, so Oven caught them. And what we see to the right is, I think, Pudding. Now, this looks like her outfit, her hairstyle. We obviously can't see her face, but it looks like Pudding and it looks like she's worried about Sanji's brothers being in the book. What I might expect is some kind of breakout. I'm not entirely sure if she's going to be able to, but I feel like she'd want to help Sanji's brothers considering how she feels about Sanji. Now, onto the chapter itself, we start with Fukurokujo and Raizo still holding out their paralysis jutsu, still fighting. And just like Fukurokujo said, Raizo is going to end up being on fire first. Now, Raizo is completely engulfed in flames, while Fukurokujo, we can see the flames are starting to rise over his back, but they really haven't reached him yet. And I know for the most part, this fight has been somewhat of a gag to the community because, basically nothing's happening. They've been stalemated for the past 5-6 chapters or whatever. But the thing here is that Raizo being completely engulfed in flames and kind of sitting through it reminds me a lot of Oden. And I would imagine in Raizo's head, this is kind of like him paying respect to Oden, saying that, well, Oden was able to sit in oil for an hour. I can at least, sit on fire for however long I need to in order for the rest of the raid to go off. So I do think that's pretty cool. Whether or not I like the fight, I think that's a really cool detail. The rest of the Alliance is struggling to find a way out of the fire, and they end up getting saved by Jinbei, who catches some of the debris from falling from the ceiling. And he catches basically an entire floor, which just goes to show how strong he is. But he mentions that he stayed back to make sure that people were still able to make it out. So basically, he's going around making sure everyone gets out of the way of the fire before they burn alive. I would assume at some point, Fishman Karate is going to come into play and he's going to try to douse the flames. I'm not entirely sure how soon or when he might be able to do that, considering it seems like most of the water is out of reach. But I'm assuming we're going to find some barrels, something to help put out the fire with Fishman Karate. We get an update on Chopper and he's actually reverted back to his normal form now. And it seems like this effect lasts a little while, probably a little bit while longer than his original monster transformation lasted. We knew he couldn't use his body for like a few minutes. I'm not entirely sure if we had the exact time, but it seems like this may have lasted a little bit longer. It could just be because of the amount of chapters we got in between him switching to this form and then him finally coming out of it. But I think the effects, since they last longer in general, the after effects will also last longer. Now, Chopper is worrying about Zoro because he took the miracle drug. It gives him the, brief reprieve from all of the damage he took, but at the end, it ends up costing him a lot more. And we actually pan over to Zoro, who looks like he's about to be taken out by the Grim Reaper. Now, part of me thinks it'd be kind of funny if that was just Brook messing with Zoro, because it seems like even Frankie right now is trying to find Zoro, so the Straw Hats may be looking for Zoro knowing he took the drug and that he's pretty much disposed. So it would be kind of funny if Brook ended up getting there first and he's kind of acting like the Grim Reaper. On the other hand, this could be an apparition formed by basically the soul of Enma, and in a culmination of all the damage he took, plus all the hockey he used, the drug wearing off, basically all this coming ahead and forming what appears to be Zoro's death. Now, while I think it's pretty clear Zoro isn't going to die here, I think there is potential for him to lose something pretty significant, pretty important. It's not going to be another eye because it needs at least one of those, but it could be something internal, it could be something metaphysical. Basically, it's going to take something from Zoro. What it is, I'm not entirely sure yet, but it's not going to be his life. Cut back to Izo, and he's taken out all the Beast Pirates who were basically squaring up on Usopp earlier, but he took a bit of damage anyway just because it's a lot versus one. Now, I think this also goes to play with how Izo's fighting style is. It's probably not made to go 1v a bunch of people. And he goes to mention that even though they're basically low-level minions, there were still a lot of them, and they kind of overwhelmed him as far as doing damage. Now, this leads to a very strange interaction, and that's between Izo and CP0. Now, the odd thing is that it seems like they know each other more than just by name. One of the agents mentions hearing that I heard you were on the island, and I feel like if they got mention of maybe Whitebeard pirates, they would have mentioned Marco, they would have mentioned anybody else, but they very specifically said, I heard that you were on the island, Izo. However, they do mention that they were going to capture him for being part of a notable crew. So it's like, even if they do know each other, it's not any kind of undercover, it's not any kind of special relationship. But at most, they may have interacted in the past. Now, they mentioned basically letting Izo go because they're focused on the Straw Hats. But that's very odd because if they wanted to, they could very easily kill Izo here now, if they were stronger than him, and if they had that ability. The girls, they even mentioned last chapter that it wouldn't be surprising if people died in this battle. So if they want to get rid of Izo, they could have done so right now and then moved on to the Straw Hats. He's obviously injured, he's obviously not at full strength, and they're both going to tag team him. They could take it. So I think there is something else about the interaction between these two that's left to be unseen. Now, even though they try and leave, Izo says he's not letting them take another step. How this is going to turn out, I'm not entirely sure. I don't think Izo can take out 2 members of CP0, especially while he's already been injured so much. I think best case scenario, Marco has to come into play here. We cut over to Yamato, and it looks like Yamato and the fire yokai pretty much made it to the basement at the same time. Now, Yamato ends up doing what I've been saying she was going to do for a few videos now, in that she ends up freezing the bombs and the ammunition, which, another weird thing, they're literally just bombs in the basement. Like, I thought there would be like barrels of ammunition and a few different other things. They're just straight up bombs. But Yamato ends up freezing them last minute and basically tries fighting the fire yokai. She does manage to land a hit, and I'm assuming it's because of her ice powers that she's able to land something on the fire yokai, otherwise it should be pretty intangible. But in landing this hit, it actually causes the yokai to mention Orochi's name and then start fighting back. Now, I assume that the fire yokai either has some fragment of Kanjuro soul or will in it, or it was specifically made to listen to Orochi. I would assume the former because I think that makes more sense as far as the Devil Fruit power goes, but it seems like it's made to call out to Orochi. Now, I still have an idea that at some point the fire yokai is going to make its way to Orochi and possibly start burning him alive because he hasn't left the building yet and everything's on fire, but we'll see how that plays out. Yamato might end up defeating it here. Now I move on to the last piece of the chapter and the namesake of the chapter, Big Mom versus Law and Kid. And as expected, Big Mom's been giving them the work. Basically, Kid and Law are laid out, their crews are calling for help, trying to get them out of the way, and Big Mom's just not having it. Now, aside from what they did previously, it doesn't look like they did any new damage to Big Mom. She still kind of got like the blood from the mouth, but that kind of came from the combined awakened attack that they did a couple of chapters back. With Kid and Law laid out, Big Mom starts attacking the crews as well because they're trying to get in there and save their captains. After frying them all up, Big Mom basically notes that Kaido hasn't won yet. She hasn't heard his normal victory cry, so she's going to head up to the top and see what's going on. But before she can get up there, Law and Kid are back up. And not only are they back up, Law ends up using his awakening again, activates Kroom and Anesthesia. And this time, instead of just rushing on Big Mom, he actually elongates his sword and shoots it through her face and her arm. He then uses a shock move, basically counter shock but through his sword, and it looks like it does a lot of damage to Big Mom. She even coughs up blood after this. And this is so odd to me because I really expected them to be on their last legs after they used their awakening, and they said they would be on their last legs. But not only that, Law is one of the few people we've seen with a Devil Fruit stamina issue, to where he can only use his fruit so much before it starts working against him. Yet here he is again, using his awakening, which was supposed to be pretty much a one and done. He uses it twice, and he's still standing, still trying to fight, still trying to keep Big Mom from going to the roof. If I haven't said it enough, I'll say it again. Law is one of the most impressive fighters we've seen here. He has done so much just with his fruit, with his versatility, with his ability alone that he is shining as one of the top fighters. And trying to not be outdone, we have Kid as well, who goes in for another attack. Now, Kid ends up using the metal from basically all the girders that Big Mom animated. We assumed that he was going to use those because, obviously, she was basically setting herself up for that one. But he ends up making what looks to be a bull, pretty much a metal bull, and he rams this directly into her. Now, I don't think this did anywhere near as much damage as Lost Attack did, but it probably does a good job in pushing her back and disorienting her. The two mentioned not letting her reach that rooftop, and I honestly don't know how much more they can do. I feel like they definitely can stall Big Mom out, but they should really be at their limits, or I mean, honestly, they've already should approach their limits, but if they're not there yet, they should be approaching them very quickly. Law should not be doing any more moves. I should not see a Gamma Knife. I should not see another Kroom, but I feel like we're still going to get more from them. So we'll wait and see. I still don't think they're going to pull out the win here because it doesn't even seem like Big Mom is that phased when she gets hit by the Kroom attack. She stands up and she's like, I guess you guys really want to take me down, but she still seems to be in prime fighting condition. So I think we're going to get more out of her. I think she is going to take the dub here, but I think they're going to stall long enough for the Kaido versus Luffy fight to be over. But that is going to do it for me. I thought this was an excellent chapter, fantastic. Please let me know how you guys felt down below. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
You know they say that kings aren't born to me, and maybe I'd agree if I weren't born this way. I know that sometimes